Looking out the window, I see the red dust clear. High up on the red rock stands the shadow with the spear.
Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and today I'll be talking about the S book, or Ship of Theseus. I'll explain how I'm going to do this and some of the issues I found while I've done this vlog. But first, I do have a bloody eye. I threw up really hard, and I guess blew up some blood vessels in my eyeball a couple days ago. And it still looks kind of creepy, so sorry. I am sick too. I don't have COVID. I've checked 3 times. I just have something from, I think, my daughter's daycare or something like that. So what is this book? This book, I am doing a vlog for in 2 parts. What you're watching now is part 1. Part 1 is going to be about Ship of Theseus, by a fictional author named V.M. Straka. Inside this, there is a story, a book, and also footnotes and a translation by another fictional translator, FX Caldera. My first part of the vlog, which I would have done as a true vlog, but I just was sick and I was busy and I just got tired of filming stuff and I didn't do it. So this is going to feel more like a review, I think. The first part of my S book, Ship of Theseus vlog, is going to be about Ship of Theseus. It's going to be specifically about the text that V.M. Straka wrote, what the story is, what happens, that kind of thing. Then, after I'm done with that, I'm going to do a vlog on S, the S book. And included in that vlog is really going to be more of the comments and the story going on in the margins of this book. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, because inside this book, there are notes in the margin. It's a discussion between 2 students. Their relationship changes during this period that they're doing some research. And there's also a lot of different things inserted in the book. I will show you that. I'm going to include that video. It's going to be the same for both of my my vlog videos. I also found that I read this pretty slowly because of the way it was set up. If I'm laying in bed to read, I would hold it up above me. But with this, things can slide out of it. So I didn't want to do that. There is a helpful website that tells you all the things that are inserted in this book, where they go, what page number they would be inserted in. So if you dropped anything, you can look at that website and put it back into the right spot. There's also a website that talks about how you can read it, different ways you can read it. Some people read it straight through. They read the text and they read the notes all the way through. Some of the recommendations are do this each chapter, read the chapter, the text of the book and the chapter, and then read the same chapter, notes in the margins. The option that I'm going to go with was recommended by a blog, and I'll include a link to that website too. There are different time periods that the 2 students are conversing in the margins. So it recommended reading the entire book. That's what this part's going to be about. And then for part 2 of this vlog, I am going to read the stuff in the margins, but I'm going to go through it a couple of times. It tells you the ink colors and how they match up to the time period. So I'm going to read them in order with the ink. It's going to be less and less to read. It's not like reading the book twice. There's not as much text. They don't have notes on every page. But this should give me an idea for what the whole book is. Ship of Theseus is by V.M. Straka. The S book, which includes the Ship of Theseus, is by Doug Dorst and was thought up by J.J. Abrams. This is a really cool book too, and I will show you the inside of Ship of Theseus, but it came in this slipcase. It was sealed, so I had to break this. If you have to do that, I recommend just keeping it there and just folding it in and keeping both. S book, Ship of Theseus. This is what it came in, a slipcase. It had a seal on it, which I ripped. J.J. Abrams, I think, thought this up. It was written by Doug Dorst. It's cool. Cool slipcover. It's a light one. This is designed to look like a library book because that's where the interaction's going on. In a library at a university. The interaction is between a graduate student and an undergrad student. Part 1 of the vlog is just the text in this book, and part 2 is the interaction between those students. So you can see there's a lot of like little features here. It looks dirty, forlorn stamp, and you have pages that look aged, and these notes and different, it looks like pencil and different colors pen and different handwriting. You'll see there's different colors. Those colors are important, and there's also things inserted. So this is like a copy of a newspaper article. These are things that the students insert in here as they converse back and forth about what happened with V.M. Straka, the fictional author, and what they're discovering about the book. So you read through this and you get to these different, here's a letter, and it's amazing how much care was put into these things. I mean, they each mean something. I don't know what they mean yet. This is actual napkin material, and it's from the book. It's just, I can't imagine what it costs to build this, make this. There's a card inside here. It has an obituary. So it's layered and layered, and an old photograph. The way I'm reading it, I read the text of the book. That's part 1. Part 2 is reading the margins and what's included in here, these different postcards or letters or copies. And what I've read is that one of the ways you can read this is, let's see, look, that's, you kind of have an idea of when this was being checked out from a high school, but then kept by this guy who is working on this at a university library. The way I've read that you can read it and the way I've chosen to read it is there's different color inks in here, and those different colors are used at different times that these two students are interacting. So the first set of communication back and forth are the dark blue and the black. That's the female, that's the male. I think she's Jen and he's Eric maybe. And then other colors come later. So what I'm going to do, and this is happening in part 2, is I'm going to read through the book, the comments in the margins by the color. I'll hit the first time they ever wrote to each other all the way through, and then I'll go back and cover the next round of comments back and forth. And sometimes they refer back to old comments, sometimes they're brand new, but it lets you see kind of the evolution of their relationship, which is a second story. It's not just about Ship of Theseus, it's also about their relationship together and what they're discovering about V.M. Straka. The book's amazing. It is, the kind of detail that went into building this kind of book is something else. It is difficult to read because I don't want to get fingerprints on it or get it messy, and I don't want things falling out of the book while I'm reading it, so I really can't hold it the same way I usually do. But it's been well worth the read. Cool book. So what is Ship of Theseus about? It's kind of a mystery. It's something that as you're reading, you learn more and more. But if you've seen the movie Memento, you start the book knowing very little. So the book starts with a man who's easily forgotten. He's soaking wet and he's wearing a coat, a big coat. And he's going through a city and he's trying to figure out what's going on with him. He's basically having some amnesia. He doesn't know what happened to him. He doesn't know why he's wet. He doesn't know what city he's in. He knows nothing. He puts his hands in his pockets and he finds some different notes. And one of the notes has an S on it. He's walking through town and he finds a bar. He doesn't know if he's supposed to meet anybody. He doesn't know anything. He goes into the bar, and eventually this woman catches his notice. And he goes to talk to her. And they start talking. He lets on that he doesn't know who he is or what's going on. And she tells him, you should keep that to yourself. People will try to take advantage of you. And while they're having this conversation, some other people come in the bar, and they Shanghai him. They pick him up, take him away, and he's knocked out. And when he wakes back up, he's on a ship. And the ship is in rough shape. It's clear that the ship has seen some stuff and has been repaired throughout, but it's in rough shape. But he doesn't know what's going on. The sailors, the crew on the ship, all have their lips sewn together, and they have a little gap for a whistle, and they blow whistles to communicate stuff. There's one person named Maelstrom on the ship who seems like he's the boss, but he's not, and he's able to speak, and he has some pretty difficult language to get through in the book. We don't really know what the ship is. The crew goes down below to do something. Then they come up and change watches. They seem pretty ragged. They don't speak. Our character doesn't know what's going on, but all of a sudden, while they're sailing, they get hit by a big storm with a lot of water spouts. Our main character goes into the water. He swims to this town that's really close. They're really close to land. And he ends up near this factory, and there's a lot of unrest. There are people gathering. It's like a strike. There are detectives from the owner of the factory. And he's kind of stuck in the middle of it. He still doesn't know anything. He's lost his shoes. He's lost a lot of different items because he's changed when he was on the ship. His clothes. He's suspected of being with the detectives that he's going to turn everyone in who's organizing. And they're organizing because 3 of their fellow workers disappeared. And they think that they were either captured or killed by the ownership. This guy who was in the business of weapons manufacturing. So, our character, who now becomes S, he's called S. He starts working with the people. And there's a bomb that goes off. They have to go hide, and they're trying to get to another area where they can escape and tell the truth of what happened. The bomb that went off in the protests were actually planted by the detectives to make it look like it was some kind of militant faction from the striking workers, but it was really planted. They get caught. They find their way into a cave system. They eventually are all killed. While this is going on, S is trying to get away too. He goes to jump from this cliff. He's picked up by the ship. Again, somehow it reappeared, even though we know that it sunk and it was destroyed. So that's maybe not your first taste. There's something odd going on with the ship, because really having people with their lips sewn together is fairly odd. But the fact that it was recreated is different. And S is starting to understand that there's something else going on here too. What we find out is that there is basically this whole society that is courting different members. Political leaders, industrial leaders are courted by this company that makes weapons. This book takes place around Ship of Theseus, takes place around World War One. It's hard to follow exactly what time it is. Ship of Theseus was fictionally written in 1949 and translated and published in 1949 when V.M. Straka went missing. But I get the feeling that they're jumping around time, because it seems, and this is what S thinks, that time moves slower on the ship. So every time he leaves the ship to do something, time has sped up off the ship. We find out later the ship goes into some kind of zone, really, that they're protected. I don't know if it's a dream state or what, but somehow it's not just sailing around in our reality. It's something that's either parallel to it or somehow connected to it. S goes on a number of missions to combat this other team. The detectives that were employed earlier are now called agents, agents go around trying to find people that are working with S. They're trying to take advantage of different populations, take their resources, kill if they need to, killing often. So apparently they feel like they need to. And S, his role is to take out those agents. They have a list of agents that need to be taken out. And each time he's kind of activated from the ship, he goes out and finds the agent and kills him. He's also looking for a woman, the same woman that he saw in that first bar that he was attracted to in some way. And she's involved with this too. Her name's Sola. I think Sola. I don't know if she's real or if she's in his mind, and it kind of alludes to the fact that we'll never know. We just have to trust that either she's real or that her influence is real. That's what happens. The book culminates with the ship being destroyed, and the crew dying because the bad guys were able to get into that area where the ship was kind of protected. S and Sola go looking for the chateau where this leader lives to kill him. And that's where we are with it. There's a bunch of interesting things. When you're reading this, there are a lot of footnotes that are from the translator. And the footnotes explain what was going on in Straka's life and different theories in the book. One of the things that the translator talks about is how Straka never delivered the final half of the final chapter, and the translator completed it. We don't know where that happens, where the pass-off is. So you really don't know how the book ends, because we don't know how Straka would have ended it. We also don't know how much of that final chapter was Straka's and how much was the translator's. And I think that's what this book is. A big part of this book is not being certain. And the telling of the story is the action that is important. That when they're capturing, when all these different populations are being wiped out by this company, the S team and other letters, I guess, are capturing those stories and writing them down, because those populations live on through their stories. But the telling of the story and the repetition of the story and the passing on of that story is what's important. So we don't have a good feeling for who VM Straka was. We don't really know what the ending was for VM Straka, if other things were going to happen. We just don't know. And I liked it. I liked this book. I think it really kept... It was a mystery the entire time. You're finding out stuff as our character, the tall guy that's soaking wet with a duster, who becomes known as S. We're finding out things when he finds it out. And we still don't know his background at the end of this. We don't know where he came from. We don't know what happened before he found himself soaking wet in a foreign city. We don't even know where these things take place. There's very few references to locations in this book. And the references to locations that are included are blank. So I think Straka wasn't endangered or something in the writing of, or the translating of the book. So that's what Ship of Theseus is about. Now I'm reading the rest of it. The rest of it being these two students looking into Straka, Ship of Theseus, the translator, and what that's going to look like. And I will do that in a vlog next. That's going to be part 2 of this vlog. So part 1, Ship of Theseus. Part 2, S, which is really more of the inserts and the comments in the margins by these two students. It's a cool book. It was not cheap. I found it, I think, on BookTube. I don't remember who I saw it from, but I was intrigued. I wanted to find a copy that was sealed, so I knew that any of the stuff on the inside wasn't missing. I found that. I think that's important. But I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it and seeing kind of the backstory and the research by these two fictional students into VM Straka and the Ship of Theseus. So thanks for being here. Have a good one. Bye.